Okay, I thought I'd create this video. This is for the SUA as far as the allowance for bad debt entry. I wanted to clarify something that may be confusing. I've heard a couple of students confused on it, and I want to make sure I emphasize the way the SUA wants you to do the allowance for bad debt. Remember what the case asks you to do is look at sales. Remember, we're not doing an aging of receivables. What we're doing is looking at net sales. So the first thing you want to do is look and see what sales were. In this case, I mean, I'm using fake numbers here because I'm just trying to help you here. Sales, let's say, are $1 million. And then let's say you have sales discounts of 20,000 and sales returns of 15,000 for a net of 965. This is what we defined as net sales. So we multiply, in this case, net sales by some kind of bad debt percentage. In this case, it's 0.004. And we come up with what the allowance for bad debt should be. Now be careful. This is a good time to be listening. What the case asks you to do, what the SUA asks you to do, is the simple version of the income statement approach. What they do is they say, okay, this is how much we need to make an entry for. And then it just says make the entry, and all you do is just debit depreciation expense for $38.60 and credit allowance for bad debt for $38.60. Notice it ignores the existing balance, debit or credit, in the allowance for bad debt account. So we just want to emphasize you work down from sales down to net sales, and then you multiply by your bad debt percentage that's in the SUA, and you come up with your magic $38.60, whatever the number is. Again, I'm not working it for you, I'm just showing you how you do it. And then you just make your entry, depreciation expense $38.60, allowance for bad debt $38.60. Don't start looking at the existing balance. Don't pay attention to what's already there. Let me give you an idea of what you don't want to do. If you come up with $38.60, what you don't want to do is look at the allowance for bad debt and notice that we came in with $5,500, and this is again fictional numbers. You wrote off $2,000, you wrote off $1,000, and what's left in there is $2,500. You'll make sure you don't pay attention to what's in the allowance for bad debt and then ask yourself, wait a minute, $2,500, I've got to get that up to $38.60, so you make this entry. You've got $2,500, you know you got to get to $38.60, and what you do is make an entry, a net entry of $13.60 and $13.60, so you can get this balance up, this one up to $38.60. This is not what the SUA is asking you to do. Okay, the SUA is doing the simplistic. They think they're doing you a favor. And I would agree they are if you'll just pay attention to the instructions. You do not factor in the existing allowance for bad debt. What you do is just calculate your net sales, multiply your percentage. That's how much bad debt you expect to go bad with these sales, and just add it. You might be asking yourself, if you're a super astute accounting student, hey, if we constantly are estimating this, couldn't the allowance for bad debt go crazy and start getting way too high because we're just putting too much in the bucket every year? Or couldn't it be go into a debit balance where we're not, we're consuming too much of it? What the case assumes is that what you would do in the future is you would adjust this bad debt percentage. So if this got out of whack, if the allowance for bad debt got way too much, too far debit or too far credit, you would adjust future bad debt percentages to account for it. But again, it's the simple version. I just thought I'd go ahead and clarify this. I had at least 2 students ask me about this, and I got to thinking, I better step in there because some people may factor in the existing allowance for bad debt and get into trouble. I hope you found this useful.